Craig Conroy appears to love working under pressure because, well, we're less than 24 hours away from the trade deadline and nothing.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Today, we're going to be talking about the trade deadline that is less than 24 hours away, the lack of moves from the Flames, and is there currently a San Jose Shark that might be on his way to the Flames based on all stars aligning. But make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your Calgary Flames every day. And let's just jump right into this. I am astonished at how little movement there has been from the Flames. I don't think, they need to be selling all their big names. They don't need to be doing anything remotely close to as drastic as they did last year. But they could benefit from moving some depth pieces. And we're going to talk more about that in a little bit here. But on the other side of the spectrum, you have the Nashville Predators, who have just been going crazy. They claimed 2 players off of waivers today. They've made some trades. The Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning have also been going ham, adding players, and someone called it the arms race of Florida. And it just doesn't feel as if Conroy is taking advantage of this. And I understand you don't think you're in a position to sell. And that's fine. But the Flames are just sitting around. There are still plenty of pieces that you could absolutely sell. What is the holdup with Joel Hanley? Players or people, reporters have said that teams have called on him. Why wouldn't you take a 4th or a 3rd round pick for him? It's a seller's market. You can kind of push the envelope there, maybe get lucky with a 3rd. But even a 4th would be fine, considering you claimed the guy off of waivers, got him for nothing. Something just isn't adding up. And I don't think that Conroy is necessarily waiting until, 3 o'clock tomorrow or whatever the case may be. But it does feel like he's going to be getting anything in under the gun. Like it's going to be a last minute thing. And I don't necessarily like that because it puts pressure on both sides. It doesn't always yield you a fair return, or you might get fleeced one way or the other. So I guess with the TSN report of the Flames being told that you need to go for it, you need to make a playoff push, does it make sense for them to trade players? Yes, it does. They would be absolutely fine, again, if they moved a guy like Joel Hanley, or I love Braden Pahal. I think he does bring something nice to that 3rd pairing, but you could, again, trade him, Miramonov. There are so many players in the Flames organization that could slot in and take over for those players and pick up right where they left off. And I'm just confused why you aren't looking to add to your draft capital. And again, you're looking to make the playoffs. Do you really think that you're going to go out there and beat the Jets in a series? Do you think you could go out there and beat the Oilers in a series? Like, you need to be serious with yourself and, like, do some soul searching if you think the answer is yes. Because I don't know how you find that. I think the only thing you could possibly get away with Edmonton is their shaky goaltending. I think that's really it. But other than that, you're kinda SOL on both possibilities. The Flames could absolutely be in the market of trading some of these depth players. Like, there are teams that need 6th and 7th defensemen. Joel Hanley would be great. I really thought that he might go to the Rangers at some point this season. That was before they kinda spiraled out of control. But, I figured he could end up there or in Carolina. I guess Carolina has bigger issues, like figuring out where Mikko Rantanen is going. But I really thought that he would be at least one of the players moved, and even potentially like Blake Coleman. Not that he necessarily needs to be moved, but I think if Tampa came calling and they were like, "Hey, we wanna bring this guy home," I mean, I think that would do something. I mean, heck, Yanni Gord and Oliver Bjorkstrand yielded you 2 first-round picks. I could only imagine what Blake Coleman would get you, and I do like Blake Coleman, and I talked about him a lot on yesterday's show too, about what he brings to the ice, but you have to be realistic. This team isn't a playoff team. They're just not. Again, let's not forget that they couldn't score more than 1 goal over 9 periods of hockey. Their little offensive burst against Philly does not mean much when that's what they're coming off of. But coming up next, we are going to talk about the state of the Flames and kind of how they appear to be diverting from the plan and why it feels like everything's opposite and maybe Craig Conroy just has no backbone. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on that than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you missed the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. I really love the option to create the same game parlay. Rasmus Andersson block shots, the money line, a over under, and a Matt Coronado or Connor Zary anytime goal. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your team every day. When I looked at, when everyone, I would say, everyone looked at this roster heading into the season, the playoffs seemed like a distant hope, dream. We're not even on the radar. And then, obviously, as the season got going, it started becoming a little bit more real. And it shifted things a little bit. And fans rightfully got concerned of, okay, we're having like one fine season after one top 10 draft pick that's not even in the lineup yet. Is this going to divert the priorities? Is this going to send us back into the win and get in mode? And Conroy, said at some points throughout the season, oh no, like we're still sticking to the plan. We've still got, looking for this type of player, looking for this that fits that type of resume, things like that. But didn't necessarily follow through on that, at least up until this point at the deadline. I don't know why you're looking to extend Joel Hanley if those rumors are true. Quite frankly, that seems very silly when you have young guys who are capable of playing more minutes than him and better defense than him that you need to integrate into this lineup to push your rebuild along. Joel Hanley is 33 years old. Like, to me, it doesn't make sense to put more eggs in your basket with your veteran players. I think Joel Hanley's nice. I think that he's a very good defenseman. However, I don't think the Flames should be passing up on the opportunity of trading him. Could get you something, like that 3rd or 4th round draft pick, which, again, what happens when you have more draft capital? Something is bound to stick. And it's not even that. It's, say this is like a 2027 pick. Great. Package that in another deal next year or something at the deadline, whatever the case may be. Like, you can use it to your advantage however you choose. If the plan is to get younger, get better, get faster, what are you're doing your team a disservice by not allowing them, those players that you see part of your future, get a crack at the lineup. You're not making any room for them. And to me, it's just silly. It feels very counterproductive. Like, yes, I do think Joel Hanley has been great for this Flames D core. But I would also really like to see more of Solyov playing, more of Kuznetsov playing, Poirier. Like, there are players that I want to see in this lineup the same way I want to see Rory Kearns in this lineup with the forward group. Like, it feels like we are not taking steps in the right direction, but rather, it doesn't even have to be moving backwards, but just staying stagnant. Like, it's just, you do one thing productive, like acquiring Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee, and then now you're talking about extending your 29-year-old defenseman for 7 years. Do you see how counterproductive that is? Rasmus Andersson, I'm sure, is a lovely human being, but for the sake of this rebuild and wanting to see competitive hockey in your new arena, is this the guy you want on your roster until I can't do math, 2032? doesn't even sound like a real number. Does not sound like a real number at all. But you have to look at the long-term picture, and I don't think that that's happening. I don't think, or if it's happening, it's not happening as critically as you would think a general manager or front office staff would look at things. Not saying you have to trade Rasmus Andersson in order for this rebuild to, hit to, for it to be complete or to make it go right, but it would make the most sense, especially when you're in a seller's market. What is happening? It also prevents players for next year. Mr. Zane Perrick does not give him a spot to crack the lineup. It's just mind-blowing to me that this kid's having another 100-point season in the OHL, 30-goal season back to back. And, there's no foresight on that. There's no, maybe we don't have to, obviously can't have him on the roster at this very moment, but we could have him at the start of the season next year. So why don't we have a spot open and ready for him? Does that make sense? Like the availability? And it doesn't make sense to have another defenseman under contract. Joel Hanley, if you can catch a third or a fourth for him, go get him. You're likely not getting anything more than that. So take advantage of it, because I feel like in a year or two, we're going to look back at this trade deadline and say, wow, Conroy really messed up. Because the passiveness, where is the desire to win, desire to rebuild? Where is any of it? But coming up next, we're going to talk about a player that may actually be on the move to Calgary here and not too long. And just what JD Young from Locked On Sharks has to say. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're following me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Jess Belmosto. So we have heard reports over the last few days about who might the Flames be interested in, what's on their radar, who's on their radar. And then today is the first time that we have a player sitting out that is on their radar. And that would be Luke Kunin. Luke Kunin is a 27-year-old center, right-handed shot who currently plays for the San Jose Sharks. Solid fourth-line center that you could maybe get away with on your third line, depending on what you're working with there. I do not see a single goal or assist over his last 10 games. So I'm not really sure what we're looking for if we're looking for offense, but don't think he's him necessarily. I talked to JD Young because I wanted to kind of get the lowdown and see what is his story. What do the streets say about Luke Kunin? And well, JD's exact words were, he accidentally became important at work. Okay. So, he has to be important. He's looked to for a lot of responsibility, which is good in terms of, being able to balance things and take on new and different responsibilities, say if he were to join the Flames. But I don't know where he fits. this is the thing. If he's typically a third or fourth line center, you're looking at Rooney and Frost. Obviously, we know that Rooney would be the more likely one to be scratched or waived over Morgan Frost, obviously. But I think that Rooney has been playing really well. That fourth line has looked great. Even before Zary was put on it, I thought that the fourth line was buzzing and really doing a good job at, putting, I don't want to say the finishing touches on plays, but they were giving 110% every shift. Like, they were your best line at some points throughout the game. But I think overall the Flames lineup construction needs a change. It needs a shakeup, because why are you using Backlund as your 2C? To me, that doesn't make much sense when he has been regressing as heavily as he has. And when you have Morgan Frost right there that you just traded for, that you want to give him the opportunity to play more minutes, to have more responsibilities, to have those tougher matchups. I don't know. Again, it just feels like the plot is lost. And maybe I'm just looking at it too literally or too head on, but it just does not feel like anyone is on the same page here. And what feels like it's the most common sense is, like, I guess, like, the wrong answer. But they've also talked about Dylan Cousins, who has been rumored for a while, basically all season. Buffalo has chatted with Calgary, and they only want roster players. So, and we've talked about it on this show before, but giving up a lot of assets and what you would need to give up for Dylan Cousins just is not worth the risk, considering how much he's also regressed. Just because he comes here doesn't mean he's gonna start fresh and play like the Dylan Cousins that earned this very long and expensive contract extension. So I get the holdout there. I do. I get the holdout on bringing anyone in. What I don't understand is the hold up on moving people out. It doesn't even have to be like big names. That's the thing. Like, you can trade, I don't know, Kevin Rooney, let's say, just using him as an example because he's a fourth line center and you supposedly want to bring in a fourth line center. You can trade him. The world's not going to end. Or even if you move, you're not moving Sharon Govich, you're not moving Frost, you're not moving Farabee, but there are pieces on this team, mainly on the defense, that you could move, like a Miramonov, like a Pahal, like a Jake Beam, like a Joel Hanley, and you would ultimately still be the same team. So I guess I don't really understand because realistically, this team is not a playoff team. This team is not a playoff team. So take advantage of the seller's market, because in a year or two, we're going to look back at this deadline and say, wow, Conroy really messed this up if he doesn't do anything by tomorrow. So we're just going to have to wait and see. I don't necessarily think there's anything pending. But we'll just have to keep an eye out and make sure you're listening and subscribe to Locked On Flames. tomorrow for a post-trade deadline breakdown wherever you get your podcasts as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your Calgary Flames every day. And I will see you all tomorrow. Have a safe night and hope everyone survives the trade deadline.